What is going on YouTube? I'm the Brotator Chip, and today we have a very special video for you all. We are going to be ranking all maps in Phasmophobia, from S tier being the best to D tier being the worst, and everything in between. And at the end of the video, we'll do a couple honorable mentions of some maps that are no longer accessible in the game. As I go through all of the maps, I'm going to be going into the maps in gameplay and explaining why I like them, don't like them, and why I'm giving them the ranking that I am. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and I would love to hear your feedback down in the comment section as you're watching and after you're done watching as well. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So we have to go ahead and start this off on Tanglewood, one of the maps that was the earliest map in Phasmophobia, and it was the OG tutorial map before we had a tutorial ground in Phasmophobia. This is where everybody went in when they first started playing back in 2020 or 2021 and even 2022. And they were able to see the screen was on, it had a little bit of a tutorial there, and you went and you tried to find the ghost way back when the game was not nearly as finished as it is right now. So let's get into Tanglewood and explain what tier we're going to give it and why. When it comes to Tanglewood, on the outside, there really isn't much to look at, but a lot of people at this point in Phasmophobia's community know this map better than they even know their own home. And for good reason. It has great replayability. When you go inside here, I love the fact that here inside of the kitchen area is one of the most iconic spots of the entire game, because you have two amazing looping spots here. One, the kitchen table. Not as good as the countertop, but it's still pretty darn good. And with the countertop, it's one of the spots in Phasmophobia where you could do crouch looping, where you can crouch down and loop around here and the ghost will never gain line of sight on you. One of the best things for no evidence gameplay and just gameplay in general for harder difficulties. So that is amazing. And to make things even a little bit better, inside of the garage here, you have a vehicle, and you can loop around the vehicle as well. You don't have many, but you have some locker hiding spots here, which are some of the more overpowered hiding spots in Phasmophobia, and you have some closet hiding spots as well. And I like the closet hiding spots of this map because you have them pretty much everywhere you would want them to be, except for the master bedroom. The master bedroom is a little bit of a sore spot in this map. There's nowhere really to hide in here. If the ghost spawns on top of you in here, you better have a rappel on you because you're not going to make it out alive. So you have a closet here in the hallway. You have a closet inside the boys' bedroom. And you have a closet right here on the other side of the hallway as well. You have three closets very close to you, no matter if you have a ghost in the nursery, the bathroom, the boys' bedroom, or the hallway here. So they're very accessible. And if you have a living room ghost, you could try to run to this closet as well. Or you could try to loop it somewhere inside of there, the garage, or go to the locker itself. So there's a lot of potential here for very quick hiding spots, no matter where the ghost is. And since it's a smaller map, it's great for group gameplay, solo gameplay, and on any difficulty. You can relatively find the ghost pretty quickly within, I would say, maybe 5 minutes or less, depending on your skill level. Definitely less if you've been playing for a while. You could probably find it in a minute or two. The basement is also a little bit of a sore spot on this map, but to be honest, it's very manageable for solo players or newer players because it's compacted. If you have ghost orbs or you have to get dots down here with tier 1 dots, this is in a very small area to do it, and it's not that much of a pain. And the great thing about this downstairs area too is if you want to get fingerprints, you don't have to rely on the ghost to go all the way up the stairs to hit that light switch or that door. It can leave fingerprints on these two coolers here as well. So they really did think of everything. Now, Tanglewood has evolved a lot through the years of Phasmophobia gameplay. A lot of people don't know this, but this door used to be on this side of the wall, which is a little bit harder for accessibility and trying to outrun and maneuver ghosts. And inside of the nursery here, this changing table, which is a very popular hiding spot now, was never there. It was on this back wall instead, so that hiding spot was never available for a lot of Phasmophobia's existence. So they have made this map, which is already pretty accessible to hiding spots, even better throughout time, I would say. And if you didn't know, Tanglewood has been one of the maps that's been confirmed to be getting a rework from Kinetic Games, the development team of Phasmophobia, and I know a lot of people in the community have very interesting opinions on that, and that's totally fair. I personally think they're going to be making it even better. I don't think they'll be changing the layout of the map that much. I think they're just going to be adding more detailed and more assets to the game to be able to allow the ghost to interact with more in this map than it can now, which is saying a lot because it can already interact with quite a lot on this map. Since Tanglewood has great hiding potential and the ability to loop the ghost in many different locations and outmaneuver a ghost, it's great for new players, solo players, and group gameplay, and it just has a lot of replayability. Think about how many times a night when you're playing Phasmophobia that you may actually visit Tanglewood, or think about how many streamers visit Tanglewood more than once every stream. So this map, to me, I think is a no-brainer. It has to go in S tier. It's a very well done map. and it checks all the boxes that I'm looking for great gameplay. Next up in our list, we have Edgefield. And I must say, one of the best things that I could already tell you that I love about Edgefield, it's kind of a love and hate relationship depending on if you have a demon or not, of course, is that it's so close to the entrance. You don't have to go very far to get set up for this round. Especially if you're doing a round where you may have a slower player speed, this map is going to be amazing for that. And it's just so easy to bring your equipment in and out without having to waste too much time. But like I was saying, if you have a demon, the demon, if it's in that room up there or it's in the garage, it has the opportunity to eat your crucifixes right inside the van. Is that a cool point or is it a hindrance? That's for you to decide. But it is a factor nonetheless. Let's go inside here. As you go inside, you have the only looping spot in the entire map, and it's going to be that couch right there inside the living room. And I have to say, this looping spot's not even that good because you can really run out of stamina very quickly because the surface area and the length of this couch is so large that it's a little bit bigger than you would want a traditional looping spot in Phasmophobia to be. You will eventually run out of stamina here, and the ghost will catch up to you as long as it's not a slower ghost. And after you have about 3 or 4 rotations, you're going to have to repel and try to get out of this room and run to some sort of a hiding spot. But it's a looping spot nonetheless, and we recognize it as that. Edgefield is a very narrow map. And that means that it has a lot of opportunity for you to cut a corner and get rid of line of sight speed from the ghost so it doesn't speed up on you that much. And that's a great thing, but it makes it harder to test for a lot of ghosts as well. For Myling, yokai, for example, how are you going to get far enough from a Myling or a yokai to be able to see if it can hear your electronics from 2.5 meters away or to hear those Myling footsteps? You would have to realistically have the ghost come down this staircase, be here, and you have to be on the completely opposite side of the location to really properly test for those things if you were doing no evidence gameplay. But that is just one type of gameplay that it impacts. It doesn't impact professional, intermediate, amateur, nightmare, insanity, etc. The garage has always been a sore spot for me. I always wish that this car was a little bit away from the wall itself and the back garage door. That way you could try to loop the ghost around this car. I think that in itself would make this map so much better and put it on the same playing field as Tanglewood and Willow. But I digress. It is the way that it is, and we can't change that. At least you do have locker hiding spots, and one of the best things about this map is you also have locker hiding spots down in the basement as well, right here. And the interesting thing about this basement, too, is that this area here, inside of this door, is one ghost room. I always found that to be very confusing for new players because they don't realize that's the case. They think that this door is going to separate these two rooms, and it doesn't. And it makes it a little bit harder to try to get evidence as a result. I almost wish that this door wasn't here, but then again, it does give the opportunity to get a Eurydice save ability down here, so that's always a good thing, and it gives opportunity to leave fingerprints on the door as well. This ghost is just following us around during this tour. Thank you, ghost. Heading upstairs, you have a lot of doors here. This is just a very confusing hallway. There's so much for the ghost to touch here that if you need UV evidence, this is going to be a great space to try to get it because it has a lot of opportunities to touch doors. But you have these 2 double closets here, which are great hiding potential. And over here in the master bedroom, you have a lot of closets here too. In fact, most of these rooms do have closets for you to be able to hide it. You have one in here, and you have one in the other boy's bedroom on the other side. For whatever reason, the female rooms don't seem to have any closets. Don't know why that is, but it is something that I have noticed. And every single one of these rooms has a bathroom, which is all connected to the ghost room. They're all considered one big room. So for example, over in this master bedroom here, you have the ghost room plus the bathroom is one giant ghost room. So that could be a little bit difficult to try to navigate and get evidences for as well. I know Edgefield is loved by many people in the community, and a lot of people in my own community love this map, but there's a lot of negative points to it for me, but I'm not going to dock it too much of a ranking because of those reasons. Since Edgefield doesn't have a lot of looping potential besides the living room, and some of the rooms are harder to try to investigate in than others, like the master bedroom or the basement, and there's a lot of spread out hiding spots in a very narrow map where it's hard to kind of maneuver a ghost, that's all the reason that I'm going to be putting this at a little bit of a lower ranking than S or A tier. But one of the biggest defining factors that I'm not going to put it down into C or D tier is because the distance between the door and the van is so incredibly small that it makes it nice, compact, and easy to play. So for that reason, we're going to be putting Edgefield in B tier. Next up in our map ranking, we have Ridgeview here. Ridgeview is an incredible map for so many reasons, and I'm going to get into a couple of them. Let's just talk about looping spots first and foremost. This table here is one of the most famous and popular looping spots in the entirety of Phasmophobia, and the reason for that is the surface area and the distance and the shape is perfectly proportioned for looping for the stamina that we have available as players. So this is one of the best looping spots in the game, and if you're trying to learn looping, I recommend highly using this looping spot right here. And there's another looping spot inside of this map as well, and it's down here. Oh, we got a bone here, look at that. And it's downstairs here in the basement with these shelves right here. You can realistically loop a ghost around these shelves because it doesn't have the opportunity to get line of sight speed on you as it sees you through the shelves, and it can't see you through the shelves anyway. That's a fun fact there as well. So this is an amazing looping spot down here, either this shelf or this shelf, to be able to try to maneuver the ghost downstairs in a basement setting. But the downstairs basement here is a very odd shape, and it's a bigger area, so it could be difficult to try to get evidences down here. But thankfully, we do have a hiding spot with a locker here. And if we go on over to the garage, we have even more locker hiding spots in the garage, and I do really appreciate the fact they have lockers on this side and on this side of the garage. That way, if the ghost spawns somewhere in the middle between these two locker spots, you can hide in that one or that one. Then again, do remember that if you're on professional, nightmare, insanity mode, etc., that they may not both be available. So always double check your hiding spots before committing to them. As far as natural hiding goes, and natural hiding, for anybody who doesn't understand what that means, is a hiding spot that's always going to be available to you, even if you have hiding spots in your custom settings disabled. One of them is going to be next to this piano right here, which, to be honest, is a very, very good natural hiding spot. The second natural hiding spot this map has is behind the fridge, and why people call it Ridgeview. You could go inside here to the fridge area and crouch down and hide next to the fridge, and this is a great natural hiding spot as well, because the only way the ghosts are going to know that you're back there is if it wanders during the hunt to be right here to see you. So it has a very little chance for that to happen, and it's a very good hiding spot with great survivability because of that. Heading up to the upstairs area here, we do have closet hiding spots here, here, and there. That's 3 different closets to hide in the entirety of this bigger hallway, and that's a great opportunity to try to survive a hunt from happening as well. Ridgeview is a map that's a little bit bigger, but still feels like it's very doable for solo gameplay and group gameplay alike, and I just love the fact that you have 2 looping spots, and you have the capability of so many different natural hiding spots with traditional hiding spots of closets and lockers on top of it. One of the things that I want to mention before we get off this map, though, one of the biggest pain points that I have, and I know a lot of other players have, especially if you're a new player, is the misunderstanding of what's happening inside of this area here. You technically have 3 rooms in one. This area rug right here is one room. It's the dining room. This strip here, when you first come into the staircase, is called the foyer, or the foyer, if you will. And then you have the living room over here as well as a separate room. So in this open area here, you have 3 different rooms in one. It used to be a lot less complicated because Ridgeview used to have it so that was the living room over there, and the kitchen was over here. And it was very well-defined rooms, and there was no miscommunication or misinformation or any misunderstanding at all with the way they previously had it. I guess they just wanted to do this because they wanted to open up this looping potential here, which I do understand and I appreciate, but it did take away a little bit from the overall feel of the map when they did that, I think. Since the gameplay inside of Ridgeview is amazing with good looping spots, good hiding potential, natural and unnatural, but since some of the rooms are a little bit more complicated, it's a bit of a bigger map overall, and the walk to the van is so incredibly long with that long walkway, I'm going to go ahead and put Ridgeview at A tier. I think that's a very good and honest rating because it makes it for great gameplay. It's a good map overall. I just don't think it's the top S tier. I'm trying to save that for the absolute best maps the game has ever created. Next up, we have Grafton Farmhouse, the very next map that Phasmophobia has to be remastering inside of its lineup of maps that are looking to be remodeled or redone. This map has a lot of downsides, but a lot of positives as well. One of the first positives I'm going to highlight is the table here in the dining room. The table in the dining room is a relatively good looping spot, and the benefit of this is you can crouch down and you can still see below the table without the ghost seeing you back here as long as you don't have electronics on or open microphone on. And you can observe the ghost very well on any difficulty. So if you're doing no evidence gameplay, you're doing harder levels of gameplay where you have to try to rely on being able to observe the ghost's abilities, this is a great space to do it, and one of the reasons I always come back here when I'm doing my harder multiplier difficulties. So this is a great room overall, and it has a lot of open areas here to be able to maneuver the ghost if it kind of catches up to you a little bit quicker. Then your next escape plan is to go inside here to the kitchen, which you have another countertop that you can crouch loop around without getting any additional line of sight speed on the ghost, which is always beneficial and very, very strong tool as well. Crouch looping is always going to be one of the most overpowered methods of survival and observation of the ghost in the game, because there's very little threat to you and a lot of opportunity to try to observe something happening with the ghost. One of the big pain points of this map, though, comes really at the hiding spots and the availability to actually survive ghost hunts. Out here, we don't really have anything that we can do for hiding. One of the best hiding spots we have downstairs is going to be these boxes behind this shelf here. And even that really isn't that great of a hiding spot, because if the ghost sees you come in here, it's more than likely to come back here and see you behind that shelf. So that is something to note as well. Another potential hiding spot you have is inside the twin bedroom closet over here. If you go inside here, you have a potential hiding spot right here behind these little boxes. Again, not a very big surface area to hide behind. If the ghost comes in here, it's going to see you again. So the hiding potential of this map is very lackluster, and I think everybody kind of knows that. And even going on over here to the master bedroom, and this master bedroom, this is all considered one ghost room. You have closet, you have bathroom, and you have the main bedroom. This is one big ghost room, making it harder to try to do an investigation in here. And there is really no hiding potential inside of this closet besides these little boxes again. They really try to make the most use they can out of hiding spots with boxes on this particular farmhouse, and I think that just kind of falls short, being able to ensure that you're going to survive an actual hunt. When you're going upstairs here, there used to be a hiding spot that was always available no matter what difficulty you were on. It was an unnatural hiding spot that was guaranteed, and it was this chair right here. Then later on, actually relatively recently in Phasmophobia's history, they made it so it was an optional hiding spot. Sometimes now this chair will be against the wall and you cannot hide there. I think that was one of the biggest mistakes they made on this map, because it made it so you could potentially have nowhere to hide up here at all, even if you were on just nightmare mode difficulty. The other hiding spot you really have to be able to take advantage of is going to be inside the storage room here. The storage room, again, is a little bit of a complicated room. You have a lot of stuff in your vision and view. So if you're trying to get dots, or you're trying to see orbs, or you're trying to get book writing, could be a little bit of a troublesome area to do it in, because this is a bigger room with a lot of random stuff in your way if you're trying to put the camera down in a corner. And there's a lot of just obstacles in general, and if you did not know this, for whatever reason, the ghost could just walk through most of these boxes, which is not something that I'm very happy with either. And a player that doesn't know the ghost can do that can find themselves in a very bad situation quickly. But you do have lockers up here to take advantage of for hiding, and that is very appreciated, because we always like those locker and closet hiding spots, because it's the most overpowered hiding spot in the game. And we do have a cool shovel here, which I just like the shovel because it's fun. I think if you're comparing old Bleasdale to current Grafton, I would say that current Grafton is better than old Bleasdale was. So always keep that into factor. But I think now the current Bleasdale, the new reworked version, is a little bit better than Grafton is. But I cannot go ahead and dispute that some of the potential looping spots on the lower floors is so strong on higher level gameplay that we just can't deny that. But when you get to the upstairs area, that's where things start to fall apart really quickly. Since Grafton has some good looping potential on the lower levels, and it has a couple decent hiding spots, but they're very far and few, taking all those things into consideration, and taking into consideration as well that this map is not very detailed as of yet, it may get a lot more detail once the new Grafton rework comes out, and we'll definitely revisit it with a deep dive of that map once that update comes out later on this year. But for right now, I'm going to put Grafton in the B tier. I think that's where it belongs. I think it has potential and deserves a spot in your nightly Phasmophobia routine when you're doing a tour of all the different maps, but I wouldn't have it as my first map choice, and I usually never do in my streams either. Next up, we have Willow Street, one of my favorite maps in Phasmophobia. Just like Tangle, it's a bit of a smaller map, and it has a lot of great looping and hiding potential on this map. Remember, we're on amateur mode as we check out these maps, so that way you can see all the potential hiding spots that we do have, and the ones that I'm going to highlight for you. The first hiding spot we have here is going to be right inside of the living room. And to be honest, I usually survive here if I do utilize it, even though it's just a couple bins with a very small overhang. Typically, the ghost is never going to come back here to try to look for you unless it sees you go in that location, or if you have electronics on, or if one of your friends gives you away. That's a good hiding potential there. You have a countertop here, just like the other few maps, where you could do crouch looping around the countertop, crouch looping again, super overpowered. We always enjoy a map that has that available for them. Going into the garage, you have a nice centralized car that you could do car looping around. And to be honest, this is one of the areas that I go into to do a lot of my upper level gameplay on this map, because there's so many opportunities to get away and to observe the ghost in this room. And you have not only the ability to hide behind the car here, you could hide behind this blue shelf, or this little blue tool cart, I guess you want to call it. You could hide behind these boards here. You could hide behind these bins, and you could hide behind this shelf. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hiding spots in one little area. That's pretty impressive, making that garage a powerhouse for this map. Going down the hallway now, we have this bathroom here. The bathroom is a little bit bigger than the one on Tanglewood, which I actually enjoy, because sometimes when you're in a smaller bathroom, it's harder to try to get orbs or to try to get dots to happen, because you're trying to figure out how to place dots and your camera down in a way that's not awkward with a small room. This is a little bit longer, so you can place it here and have a nice, good view of the entire bathroom, and I actually like the format of this much better than the Tanglewood for that reason. Going over here, we have this boys' bedroom here. We got a streamer bedroom over here with 3 monitors over here. Let's freaking go. That's an interactable object. You have a hiding spot inside this room via these boxes right here. And over across the way to the other bedroom, you have another hiding spot, which is going to be behind this chair and behind this wardrobe or cabinet or whatever you like to call it. And you also have a hiding spot behind this desk here as well. You can crouch down here. They have this filing pad here, so you can not have to go see the top of your head. And that's a good hiding spot potential as well. So you have hiding in all the major rooms up here, just not the bathroom because it's so small. Going down to the basement, you have a looping spot down here as well, although a lot of people don't use it as a looping spot. You have the ability in the right storage room to loop around this shelf right here. Remember? Just like on Ridgeview, the shelves, the ghost can't see through them, and it's not going to gain line of sight speed if you sees you through them as well. So you can just go around and around and loop it there, and then once you loop the ghost around this shelf, if the ghost is in the back of the shelf and you're here, you can zip out here, lose line of sight on this shelf, and zip right up the stairs. It's a maneuver I use a lot of my gameplay, and it saved my life so many times. Other than that, I like the fact that unlike Edgefield's basement, this basement has the ability to be broken up into 3 separate areas: the hallway, the right storage room, and the left storage room. I like the fact that the basement is different rooms instead of all just one master room, because I think it's easier for investigative purposes. Although having a ghost down here in the basement hallway is not really a walk in the park either. It's a bit of an odd shape. It's shaped like an S, so it could be a little difficult to try to get dots or orbs to happen. And if you really had to, you could always loop around this couch or this sofa here as well. The sofa here is a little bit smaller than the one in Edgefield, so it's easier to loop around this, and it gives you this benefit here of this table being there as well, making the ghost have to kind of awkwardly get around that as well during the looping process. Since Willow has good looping potential in the living room, the kitchen, the garage, and the basement, that's 4 looping spots in one map, and every single room has basically a hiding spot for you, if not several. I'm going to go ahead and definitely put Willow in the S tier category with Tanglewood. Now, obviously, as I'm sure a lot of you are noticing already, the 2 smaller maps are in S tier. I promise you that's going to change as we visit a future small map that's coming up next. Next up here, we're at Camp Woodwind, and I made sure that I got a round that has heavy rain on, because I just want you to be able to hear the heavy rain and how obnoxious it is in Phasmophobia for outdoor maps, because that is a big pain point for me as well when it's going to come to Maple Lodge Campsite and Woodwind. I think Phasmophobia so desperately needs to have in the audio tab a scale of volume setting for weather. If they add that, it would make these maps immediately so much more appealing to me, and I guarantee other players as well. I'm going to lower my volume down a little bit in game so you don't have to hear the rain as heavily. So in this map here, my biggest pain point with it, and the reason it's not going to be as high on the tier list as Willow and Tangle, is because the map is just unbelievably open floor plan, and the ghost could pretty much see you almost no matter where it is. That means that the ghost has an opportunity to get line of sight speed on you if you're anywhere in that open area over there, except if you're like back here behind the blue tent and lover's bench. So it has a lot of potential for things to go wrong very quickly. And when my community decides to play this map on our Friday community streams where I play with viewers, it's funny because a majority of the time, the entire team will die and I'm left here by myself, because a lot of players, especially the newer ones, just don't know how to combat when a ghost sees them and what to do. Because you have a couple of hiding spots here, right? You have the hiding spot here behind these coolers. That's a very, very good hiding spot. You have the hiding spot behind these barrels, and we call them death barrels for a reason. And the reason for that is, you can see here we have like a little pixel between these 2 barrels right there. the ghost can see you through that. They can see you through that one too. So there's a potential for the ghost to see you, and unless you're really, really hugging the back side of this, it's going to know you're back here. So this is why it's death barrels, is because most people don't survive back there. And then the other hiding spot that I want to bring up real quick is inside of this yellow tent, and it's going to be behind the stacked up sleeping bags. This is another amazing hiding spot as well. Whenever you have a weekly challenge on this map, I always recommend to see if you have that hiding spot or the cooler hiding spot available to you. Although a lot of you know at this point, there's a lot of tent glitches where you can try to cheese and survive in a god spot where the ghost won't get you. I'm not going to go over those here, but I cannot wait for Phasmophobia to fix those issues because, to be honest, it's kind of made the game not fun at this point. If there's a spot you can go where the ghost doesn't get you at all, what's the point in that? I think it takes away such a big portion of what this game is and the fear of being caught by the ghost. Also, another good thing is you have the potential to get Slenderman as an Easter egg on both of the outdoor maps here, Maple Lodge and Woodwind. So that's always a little bit of a plus in my book. The fact that they got Slenderman to be on here, even though he just looks very plain and not detailed, it's fun that they added that in nonetheless. Another big pain point with the map being so open floor plan is that it's hard to tell the room boundaries. That's going to be a room around the campfire. That's a room in that food tent. That's a room there in the activity tent. There's a room here, which you're just supposed to kind of know right here in the middle of everything. So like, it's like these tents, and then right before the red tent and right before the bathroom is its own room. The red tent's its own room. And that whole back area back here with all this, like this left shape here, from there to there, that's all one room for Lover's Bench as well. The room floor and like how it's all separated, it can be very confusing for a lot of players. And I think that's definitely got to bring down the ranking that I'm going to give this map as well. But it cannot be disputed that this map has been used by grinders of XP for so long, probably ever since it came out, to be honest, where people go on here for 10 times, 11 times, 12 times, 15 times multipliers, and they loop it around those picnic tables over there, and they figure out the ghost type, and they leave, and they take thousands of dollars and thousands of XP, and they do it in a very short time frame. I'm a victim of it as well. I have done it myself when I was doing a lot of grinding back in the day, and to be honest, at this point, I think I've kind of burnt myself out on this map as a result of that, and I do recognize that that's happening. Since the map can be very difficult to try to survive because it's so open floor plan and the room boundaries are difficult, but it has a lot of potential for grinding XP and try to get out some very quick games, I'm going to go ahead and take Camp Woodwind and I'm going to put it in the C tier. I think this is definitely not the worst map ever, but it has a lot of negative things. And again, if they make it so the weather has its own scale to where you can lower the volume of that heavy rain, I would be even better and a little bit more inclined to say maybe it's going to be in B tier. Now that we've done Camp Woodwind, we have to get over to Camp Maple Lodge, the other campsite map, the other outdoor map that Phasmophobia has to offer. And if a lot of people don't know this, but actually Maple Lodge has received a rework at one point in time because the previous version had a lot of performance issues. It was just not very optimized. Although I think I would even go to say that I may have preferred the old version of this map to the new version, but it's hard to tell. Because just like Woodwind, the old version of Maple Lodge was very open floor plan as well, and the survivability and the looping potential wasn't great. And I think that was definitely remedied with this new map. We'll show why. Coming into the front entrance of Maple Lodge, you can already see that there's a very odd thing happening on this map. There's wooden walls everywhere, and I feel like I'm playing 7 Days to Die. I feel like I'm playing some sort of zombie apocalypse game, and I'm trying to keep the zombies out. But I don't understand why the case is, but it just looks really weird to me. So from an aesthetic standpoint, I already don't like this map for that reason alone. Oh, is that Slenderman over there? What's up, Slendy? We have Slenderman on this map as well. We got him on both maps. Look at that. And he's much closer on this map than he was in the previous map, so that's always a little bit of a benefit. But there's better hiding spots here, I think, than there is on Camp Woodwind for sure. You have the opportunities to hide behind these, like, weird, like, I guess, towel things, like towel dividers that are randomly around the map. And you have the ability to hide inside of some of the tents. So there is hiding potential here that's a little bit better than Woodwind for that reason. And the room boundaries are a little bit more defined than Woodwind is as well, because there's not as many just big open areas for no reason. Like this could be a room up in the opening. You have an actual indoor area here. And there's another indoor area, obviously, by the cabin, which is towards the back end of the map. We'll go over there first. When you get over here to the cabin area, one of the good things about this map is it has actually a lot of hidden Easter eggs. We're going to get some lights on here real quick. And we'll show you one of the Easter eggs that's going to be at the end of the dock here. And if you look down in the water here, you're going to see that you have adjacent maps coming out of the bay there. So this is like, or the lake, I guess I should say. So it's almost giving the idea that this could be Camp Crystal Lake. And if you look in the very far distance, which you actually can't really see very well here because I am on a heavy rain or a rain setting, there actually is Point Hope Lighthouse over there. And at one point in time, if you go inside the reception area, you're going to see on the map in the reception area, it says in the distance, Point Hope Lighthouse. So we knew as a community that Point Hope Lighthouse was coming well before they ever announced it. There's another Easter egg here underneath the cabin. You're going to see way, way back there. There is a body that is wrapped up in a bloody cloth. So there's a body underneath the cabin. And if you go inside here sometimes, if you were to turn on the TV, if you were to turn on the TV with the remote control, sometimes, not all the time, the phone would ring, kind of like the Ring movie. That's another possible Easter egg as well. What stinks, though, is inside of this cabin, there really is almost no hiding potential, except for maybe the upstairs area here. You could try to hide, maybe back here if you're lucky, but the ghost can typically see you back here. That's really not going to work. And even if you go inside of the bathroom, there's no hiding potential in here either. So if you're inside of this whole cabin area, the ghost is hunting you, you're a sitting duck waiting to be found. The map has a ton of detail and little aesthetic things about it that I think I really enjoy. Like the fact that you can see that somebody was playing a game of cards here. That's awesome. The fact that you have a dock and everything, but the dock could be a ghost room, which opens up its own set of problems. Because if the ghost hunts there, you better hope that you can get to a hiding spot because you're kind of out in the middle of the open. And if you go over here towards all the tents, you have so many potential ghost rooms because every single tent could be a ghost room as well. White, yellow, blue, red, white over there, a black one down there. They're all potential ghost room. And you have 2 different campfire areas as well, which is pretty cool. So I think this map has some charm to it, but to be honest, a lot of it is just not great for gameplay. And it just feels very clunky and rushed and put together in a poor fashion because I just still don't understand to this day what the walls are for. The only thing I could actually imagine is they put the walls up. That way you didn't have to render so much of the forest in the distance. And it wasn't going to take such a hit to people's PCs or consoles to overuse and kind of show that unoptimization. But then again, I still hear a lot of reports that people crash on this map. So who knows if it's even working as intended. And you can let me know down in the comment section if on any of these maps you crash more often than not, because I would love to know that feedback. With Maple Lodge being a medium-sized map, being an outdoor map, having some decent hiding spots, but a lot of areas not having any hiding spots at all, you have to run pretty far just to get to a hiding spot while the ghost is chasing you. It's a very difficult map to conquer. Even in group gameplay, it's not very enjoyable. In solo gameplay, forget it, it's not enjoyable at all. So for me, Maple Lodge, we're going to have our first D-tier map, Maple Lodge Campsite. One of the worst maps in the game, in my personal opinion. And again, all this is my personal opinion. So if you don't agree with anything, totally understand. This is just kind of my thoughts and my feedback after being able to play Phasmophobia for thousands and thousands of hours throughout the year. Next up in our ranking list, we have a larger map, which is Prison. Prison, I feel like, is loved by some and hated by others, and a lot of people just don't come here a lot by choice, which is understandable. Let's go inside. There's a couple things about Prison that I love and I hate, and it all comes down to where's my ghost room going to be. And I'm going to show you some of the ghost rooms that I never want to have the ghost in, no matter what and why. The first one is going to end up being the cafeteria. Let's go on over to the cafeteria by going through the center here. One of the great things about these bars and these gates in the center is the ghost actually can't see you through them. So if you're standing behind them, as long as the ghost doesn't know you're there already, it's never going to know you're there. And you can just kind of observe the ghost through the bars and just see the ghost abilities there, which is a fantastic feature. Go through here. The cafeteria is just a really, really, really big room. And you do have a little bit of hiding potential here if these garbage cans are available. But to be honest, it's not a very good hiding spot because you have so much exposure here that the ghost can just come up right beside you and get you. Kind of wish there was one more garbage can here to make that a little bit more secure, but it is what it is. This is a difficult room to get writing in. This is a difficult room to get orbs in. This is a difficult room. Actually, I shouldn't say it's a difficult room to get orbs in because there is a built-in video camera on this map. And that's probably something I should mention. Some of the areas of this map have built-in video cameras that you can access from your CCTV camera in the van. That's a big benefit right there. To be able to see orbs without having to bring in a video camera at all, that's a big win in my book. But having said that, trying to get dots or book writing in here, or a spirit box for that matter, is a little bit more of a challenging feat. That's something to keep in mind. The other area I just really wouldn't want a ghost room to be would be inside of the cell blocks, but specifically a certain area of the cell blocks. So we'll go over here to A block first. And a lot of people don't think about it this way, but when you enter through the center, think about it this way. A is the first letter in the alphabet, B is second. You read left to right, A is on the left, B is on the right. Trying to give you a little bit of an easy way to remember which side is which when you're entering the location. So when you come into this area, you have all these cells. And that's fine. All the cells can be used as a potential hiding spot. If you go inside of one of them and you turn off your electronics, you try to get behind one of these little crevices, if you will, one of like the side corners. But then again, they really don't act as a hiding spot that well. There's not a lot of chance of success there, but there is a possibility for some survival, so it's always meant to be taken into consideration. Let's get all the lights on here. The place I would not want a ghost to be on this map would be upstairs cell block. So when you go upstairs in the cell block here, you have two separate ghost rooms. One of them is going to be this right side, upstairs right side. The other room is going to be upstairs left side. So you have this whole cell block here. This one side is a ghost room, and that side over there is another ghost room. So I do like the fact that they're separated. The issue is that if the ghost spawns on top of you or nearby you here, you better have a repel on you because it's going to get you no matter what. You could try to get into one of these areas and try to duck down and turn off your electronics, but if it already sees you, good luck, that's probably not going to save you. And if you want to try to repel and run down the staircase and try to get to hiding outside of the cell block, you're probably not going to make it there either, especially if it is going to be a faster ghost. So the chance of survival here inside of a cell is so minimal, especially on higher difficulties, that I almost feel like it's not even worth the payout that you're going to be getting for a little bit of a bigger map. The whole upstairs area prison, and I'm probably not even going to travel up there, is really not bad. You have an office area up there, you have a bathroom, you have a warden's office, you have a chief security office, you have all those areas up there. If you have a ghost room up there, it's fantastic. If you have a ghost in the bathroom over here, it's fantastic. If you have a ghost up in the front, very, very good ghost potential as well. So really, it's only the upstairs cell areas that I don't like in the cafeteria. If you have a ghost in any of those potential spots, it's just not a fun time, and you know you're in for the long haul on a longer route. Really quickly as well, before we leave, I want to be able to point out that on prison, there really isn't that many custom items here. You got a couple of coffee cups, you got a clipboard, you got maybe a pair of handcuffs, you have some notepads, and that's pretty much it. So the ability for the ghost to throw a lot of objects to let you know that it's there or to do a Pulte test is so minimal that I wish this map was just a little bit more detailed with more stuff for the ghost to interact with. That is a big thing that I wish. And I hope at some point they redo this map to be able to make it so it's at that level of other maps they're going to be putting out in future maps as well. But I understand that this is going to be a big project to try to redo this map. So I hope they redo other smaller maps first before this one so they can get those done quicker. Since a majority of prison really isn't that bad of a map, and it really comes down to the cafeteria, the cell blocks, and the lack of the ability of good hiding spots and the lack of things that it can interact with, I think I'm going to go ahead and put prison in the C tier rank. It's really not a terrible map. It's not an awful map. It doesn't belong in D tier, but there's a lot about it that could be better. There's a lot about it that could be revised to make it a B or A tier map. I don't think it'll ever be an S tier map. I just don't think it has that potential with its current layout. I think it would have to be laid out a little bit in a different way and try to redo the ghost rooms a little bit to make it more accessible, especially to newer players. But I think C tier is a fair ranking for prison. Next up, we're going to showcase Sunny Meadows and Sunny Meadows Restricted in one little overview here. Let's go ahead on in here in the front door. So this map, Sunny Meadows, it really does feel like a map that belongs in this game. It's scary. It's got some good ambience, and it has some good background noise, and the whole atmosphere of the audio itself feels like it belongs in this game, and I think they do a very good job of making people feel unsettled, which is really what you would probably want from a horror game at its core, right? So I think they've done a great job with audio and visuals here. I mean, look at this chapel. This chapel is so unsettling. Like, it just is awesome. And obviously, if you know about the Easter egg, where if you have all of your cursed objects on and you light the summoning circle in the center, it does something with that crucifix there. That's a pretty cool thing as well. Another amazing thing about this entire map is that it's one of the only maps in Phasmophobia that has lore. If you follow The blood trails here, it's going to tell you the story of Patient 07 and what really has happened to them. And there's a lot of blood trails here, so make sure you follow them, because if you follow them, it's going to take you to the ghost's final resting place, Lisa, Patient 07, which I'll show you later on in the review of this particular map. I also really enjoy the fact that there's an outside courtyard area to this map, and this is a playable area too. It just feels like it really does belong in something that you would expect to be an asylum like this, an area for people to be able to sit outside and have outdoor activities, and it's just so freaking cool. A lot of shovels here as well, which give you a lot of indications of something potentially a little bit more sinister happening. What are they burying here? I surely don't see a garden here, so what are all the shovels for? Who can say? The map has things like kitchens, laundry rooms, linen rooms, pantries, and all certain areas that you would expect to have inside of an asylum. So I feel like the detail of this map is super top-notch, and I'm very pleased with how detailed it is, considering how long this map has actually been out, which is a couple of years now. But one of the pain points of this map for me is when it comes to the corridors and the top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right, male wing, female wing, restricted section, and morgue side. Because when the ghost is hunting on this map, whether it's restricted or non-restricted, these doors that lead in or out of them, they lock. And you're stuck in there, whether the ghost is there or it's not. Now, I don't really mind that feature inside of restricted section, because if you're in restricted, it's a smaller map. It should make it a little bit more complicated by shutting you into that side, the one corridor that's going to be available. Because if you don't know, restricted Sunny Meadows is not going to have all 4 of the wings available to you, or the 5 wings, because it's including the chapel and like the whole kitchen area in the back there. You're only going to have 1 of the 5 wings available to you. So it's either going to be male, female, morgue side, or restricted section, or kitchen. You're only going to have 1 of those sides open on restricted, and you never know which one it's going to be. I just wish they wouldn't lock it down if it's one of these side corridors, because it makes it difficult to try to get in and out, and really it could just be stopping your gameplay and making things more difficult and tedious than it is actually making it challenging and dangerous and scary. That's just my little bit of feedback there. But let's continue on. Every single one of these rooms has a crucifix in it, and the crucifix is interactable. So if the ghost ever turns that crucifix upside down, which is an interaction, it can tell you that the ghost has been in there, which I love. Every one of these rooms as well, if it's a bedroom, does have an alarm clock too. So it can let you know the ghost is in there by triggering off the alarm clock. So it has a lot of potential to give you an idea of where the ghost is. With a parabolic, if you're listening from far distances, you don't have to roam around in the dark and just try to figure out where you're going. It doesn't take that long to find the ghost room, because there's a lot of supporting objects for the ghost to interact with in all of the rooms that are potential. You can see here the final resting place of Patient 07, aka Lisa, aka the Pajama Ghost, which is right here on this morgue. That is your Pajama Ghost model. That is Lisa. Lisa started off all the way back in the OG Asylum map that got retired way back when in Phasmophobia. I think at this point it's been like 3 years almost. And then she came over here to Sunny Meadows to finish her story, which obviously she unfortunately met an untimely demise. Also, if you look inside the lobby through that one door that can't be open, and you look to the right side, you're going to see Lisa inside there. Lisa is the only ghost at this point that does have lore, and Phasmophobia is the home place of that lore. Inside of Sunny Meadows, you even have these padded rooms down here in the basement. If you go inside the padded rooms, they kind of take away all the audio and just give you complete silence as you would expect to be in a padded room. And that little attention to detail as well is just so definitely appreciated that I love when developers get creative like that. It really is something I notice, and I hope other players notice as well. And when I talk about blood trails inside of Sunny Meadows, we're in the restricted side here. You can see that inside of this room, obviously something has happened with Patient 07, and they were taken and dragged out of here this way. So like I said, try to follow the different directions of the blood trails and let you know where they were. You can see them taken out of their room, brought into an area where they're meant to sit down and relax and have a visitor, then take it into the chapel, then take it into the torture chamber there, and then ending up on the morgue. There's a whole little storyline going on in this place that's very dark and gruesome. Another fun Easter egg about Sunny Meadows that some people don't know about, especially if you're a new player, you may not know this. You have these tags here inside of Sunny Meadows, and it says, "Monkey Paw, I wish for activity." When you find these tags, what it's actually doing is if you go into your journal and you go into the items tab and you find the Monkey Paw list, it's populating the possible wishes you could do on the Monkey Paw in your journal. That was one of the things they added very early on when the Monkey Paw first got added to the game. And it was when the wiki page didn't even exist for the Monkey Paw. You didn't know what the wishes were. This was the way that the community figured out what the wishes were, and then eventually what they did by experimentation and trying different things. That is another factor to this map and how it's significant in the history and the tail of Phasmophobia, if you will. I must admit that when the developers created Sunny Meadows, I'm so happy they decided to come out with a restricted version, because it's something that I know a lot of smaller groups out there, if they're like 2, 3, or just one person, they really enjoy being able to have a smaller version of a bigger map. I don't know if every bigger map deserves a restricted version, but the fact that this map has one, it just feels right for what Sunny Meadows is. So let's go ahead and talk about where we're going to rank these, because this is one that I thought a lot about. I think for Sunny Meadows as a whole, I think Sunny Meadows has to go in S tier. I think Sunny Meadows has to go in S tier. It's a very good map, has a ton of detail, has a ton of lore, has a ton of significance to gameplay, has a lot of good hiding spots, has a couple looping spots as well. And overall, all of your cursed possessions are in one centralized area, so you don't have to go run around for all of them, which a lot of the bigger maps do have. But I think Sunny Meadows does it even better because it's just all in one side of chapel in one little circular area, so it's nice to be able to figure out where it all is. And I think out of all the bigger maps, high school, prison, etc., Sunny Meadows has the biggest potential for you to get away from the ghost, no matter where the ghost is. So I think for that reason, I have to put it in S tier because of that. Now, Sunny Meadows Restricted could be good, could be bad. It always depends on what side you have available to you. Out of the 5 corridors, which one is going to be available. And again, as I said, since the door on one of the side corridors could lock and lock you in with the ghost when the map is already a restricted version, this doesn't make any sense to me. And it can often make the gameplay more tedious and frustrating than it needs to be. The same thing applies to Sunny Meadows Full, but I think I just feel it more on Sunny Meadows Restricted, especially if there's only one area open and I need to get in that area to actually figure out what the ghost is. And it hunts and I can't get inside there. Or I can't leave it either. So I'm going to put Sunny Meadows Restricted in A tier for that reason. I'm happy that it exists, but it could be a little bit better if the doors to the entrances and the exits were a little bit better. Also want to point out that the Apocalypse challenges take place on Sunny Meadows, and that can definitely not be ignored. The Apocalypse challenges have brought a lot of great things to the game, with giving people an opportunity to challenge themselves in a way that was never in the game before it came out. So I do appreciate it for that reason, and it's definitely contributed to the reason I'm putting it in S tier. New reworked Bleasdale farmhouse. There's nothing much I could say about this map at the outside area other than the fact that it is incredibly detailed and one of the most beautiful maps I think the game has to offer at this point. If every map that they revamp, remaster, or create new in the future is half as detailed as Bleasdale is, I think we're in for a real treat for the future of Phasmophobia. Though I will say that these automatic lights, not a fan. Not a fan of those. That's a big negative for me. One of the reasons for that is if you actually go in, you have a ghost room outside here, and the ghost continuously keeps setting off these motion sensor lights, which it does. It's good because it tells you that the ghost is there because they set off a motion sensor light, but it's bad because if you try to spirit box, a light's on, so you can't get spirit box response. That could be a little bit temperamental, and you would have to turn off the breaker in order to get spirit box to happen. It's a whole thing. This hiding spot's amazing. I've never had a ghost find me there, not even once. And then the fact that this whole backyard here is playable as well is such a cool feature to the game. And the fact that you could like even turn on the hose over here and hear water running sounds. Like this map really does have it all when it comes to detail. The most detailed map in the game, other than probably Point Hope. And I can't wait to get to Point Hope because boy, do I have a lot to say about that. But for right here on Bleasdale, the fact that you can go in here and you have a nice big open living room and you could loop around this piano here, great. You can loop around these sofas here too, great. The kitchen table, the dining room table here, I should say, not a great looping spot, but you could loop around this individual divider wall as well. And the fact that there's just so many walls and doorways here in like this big square fashion between this hallway, this area out here, the tea room, and the tea room is freaking awesome. Like if you have a poltergeist and you bring it in here, the poltergeist destroys this room. And then this doorway over here leading through this way, there's a great potential just to loop the ghost through these doorways here, and it almost will never get any line of sight speed on you unless it's faster and it catches up with you. Like it's like a Raiju, or if it would be like Jin or something of that nature, or Moroi with Zero Sanity or Young Fae. That's when you have to be concerned. Otherwise, it should pretty much never get you in this downstairs area. So that's absolutely awesome. One of the big pain points for me and the rest of the Phasmophobia community that I've been hearing is the sound of these doors. I'll only do it a few times, so I don't have to put you through it. No idea who came up with the sound with that door, but gosh, is it annoying and just absolutely unnecessary. But that's just a little bit of feedback for me. I love the detail this map has to offer as well, with like the smoke coming out of the cigars. it really does give you the idea that somebody left in a hurry, like recently, and then they've been getting mail, like things have been happening. All the flowers in this map you can see are, not that one, that's not a good example. A lot of the flowers in this map are dying because they have not been watered or tended to, like this one here. You can see some petals on the ground there, which may also be another indication that there's some paranormal activity happening here. A lot of people say that when you have paranormal activity, a lot of the house flowers will just randomly wilt and die out of nowhere. Who knows if that's true or not? That's something people say. Then you have this cool display room here where you can loop around this as well. This master bedroom, which is split up into 3 separate rooms, which I do enjoy. Bathroom, closet, and bedroom. 3 separate ghost possible room. And then a very, very awesome and detailed area upstairs with the cool hangout zone in the back there. Let's show that. And a fun little Easter egg here, too. All the furniture from old Bleasdale, before they redid the map, all the old furniture is right here. This is all the furniture from the old map. They just put it up here in the attic, which I think is a great little detail to people who've been playing this game for a long time. So you have all that here. So new reworked Bleasdale farmhouse. I feel like I have to put this in A tier. I don't think it meets the level and the reputation, the prestige, and the replayability of Tangle, Willow, and Sunny Meadows, but I think it's a very good map in its own right, and I think they did a really good job on it. Personally, there's a couple sounds that don't make any sense, and sometimes the ghost can be a little frustrating depending on where it is. Like if you have a ghost all the way up in the attic, if you have a ghost outside, it can be difficult to work with. But overall, a very, very well done remake map. The next map we're going to be doing is Highschool, but before we even go inside, let's go out here real quick. And remember how inside a prison I told you that prison has built-in CCTV cameras that can be used to see ghost orbs and such? Well, Highschool has them too. The problem with Highschool's CCTV camera placement is they're only inside of the hallways, and hallways can't be ghost rooms. So these cameras are absolutely useless and give no value whatsoever to the overall map. The only one that could be potentially useful is this one inside the gymnasium here. And if you have a gym ghost, well, good luck to you anyway, because it's going to be one heck of a wild ride. Let's go inside a Highschool. We're not going to spend too much time here because I think it's pretty cut and dry how a lot of people in the Phasmophobia community feel about this map. The first thing I want to be able to show off here real quick is, first and foremost, all of the cursed possessions spawn inside of this opening area here, which I actually do like that. And the other thing about this map that I like before we start bashing it right away is the fact that I actually really enjoy that there's side entrances to the Highschool. So if you look on the map inside the van and you see that your power is left staircase, right staircase, top left storage room, you can go into the side area, the side door. You don't have to go through the front door, and you can be closer to your ghost room or the power, whatever the case may be. Those side entrances are very, very good. That's probably where the good stuff ends, though. The bad thing about this map is there's so many long hallways, and it's such a symmetrical map that this map has a lot of opportunity for the ghost to gain a lot of line of sight speed on you, and there's really not a lot of good hiding spots. The one hiding spot I can think of here is on the front area, the front corner here of the school, and it's like these downed bookshelves here. You can gotta go behind these and hide. You can hide behind the stalls in the bathroom as well. But to be honest, the stalls in the bathroom aren't that great of a hiding spot, and I know I've died there plenty of times for no reason at all. So there's really not many hiding spots on this map. And if you go inside of any of the classrooms here, you're going to notice something very quickly. Look at all the stuff that's on these desks here. There's books, right? None of the books, for the most part, are interactable. You can't pick them up. So if you want a ghost to be able to throw stuff, interact with stuff, do a poltergeist ability, or whatever the case may be, that's not going to happen. You have a couple interactable things, probably. I don't even know if this room has any at all, to be honest. I don't think it does. There's a couple interactable notebooks, and a lot of this map is just not interactable and just doesn't keep the attention of anybody. And before we rank this map, another fun fact about this map is that they didn't even really do any design on this map. This is one of the earlier maps in Phasmophobia, so let's go ahead and keep that noted first and foremost, that this was here basically when 2020 Phasmophobia came out. Maybe 2021, I don't really remember off the top of my head with Old Asylum. And this map is essentially a Unity asset. This map exists in many other Unity games out there in different variations. You have the opportunity to take the hallways and some of the rooms and kind of move them around as you see fit or to block some areas off. But this map essentially is a carbon copy of what is available in the Unity store for people to be able to use, developers to be able to use if you don't want to put any work to a map. So this map needs a rework, I would say, more than most of them. And if I were them, I would try to change the formation and the design of this map completely, because those long hallways are not good for anybody, and it doesn't create very good gameplay because there's not a whole lot of opportunity to try to get away from the ghost other than to run up the staircase, run down the staircase, or try to break line of sight as quickly as possible, even though the ghost is going to know where you went. We now have our second D tier map, which is going to be High School, which brings us to our next map and the final map that is currently in the game in Phasmophobia, Point Hope Lighthouse, or as many people call it, Point Nope, or the Staircase Simulator. We'll talk about what I like about this map first. First and foremost, the detail of the outside. Looks amazing out here. It really does. And when the water on the waves of the ocean comes up, you can see it splash up. That's an amazing little attention to detail. And I love everything about the outside of this map and the fact that we have a workable, rotating light up there that is part of the Ferryman of the Drowned Easter egg. You got a workable bell out here. You got a plaque out here that's got some information about the date and where this actually exists IRL. All great things. The other great thing and the last great thing about it is the attention to detail on this map. There is so many little details and little things for the ghost to interact with. You have an openable slide door here. You have a interactable shower. You have so many things going on here for decor. And to be honest, this is probably the best they could have decorated this map, if I'm being honest. You even have interactable shades on the windows here. Like, that is some high-level detail. But unfortunately, that's where the good stuff stops. This is a 10-floor map. It takes forever if you have a ghost room at the very tippity top of this map. And this breaker could spawn on pretty much any one of the floors, so it has a very difficult time trying to find it. And if the breaker spawns towards the top where the bedrooms are, you're going to be running up quite a ways just to get the breaker on to get started for the round. As far as looping spots go, this is probably one of your only ones you have available to you on the map. Other than that, if the ghost is chasing you, you're going to go up the staircase, you're going to go down the staircase, you're going to just keep running up and down, and hopefully the ghost breaks line of sight on you, and it will, because these are spiral staircases, so eventually the ghost is going to lose you. Being able to hear ghost hunting sounds or ghost interaction sounds in general on this map is a difficult feat, because you can only hear stuff one floor above you or one floor below you, and that is it. If the ghost is 2 floors down or 2 floors up, you're not even going to know it's there. And to make matters even worse, if you're going up the stairs and the ghost's on the stairs, you're not going to hear it on the staircase either. For whatever reason, for Unity games, a lot of the time, if you have something on a staircase like this and it's on an asset, it's not going to be able to be heard via audio. It's like on a different floor. It's like in its own little universe. And you can't hear that the ghost is there. So you have to rely on being able to see the ghost before you hear it coming down the staircase. I really do love the attention to detail here. I know I was super hyped for Point Hope Lighthouse, although I was very nervous about how it was going to actually work during actual gameplay because of the nature of how a lighthouse is. The nature of a lighthouse is that it's a very tall building and it's not very wide. And Phasmophobia, in order to get away from a ghost or try to loop a ghost or try to identify a ghost, a lot of it requires a wider setting. You want to do yokai testing, you want to do miling testing, you want to do Jin speed boost testing. How are you going to do that in such a small area here? It's a bit of a challenge, especially if you're on the very top floors there, on floor number 10, 9, or 8. It's hard to do. To be very honest and say that I have to assume that this map is the least played map in Phasmophobia by far. I don't know if that's true. I'm taking a little bit of a shot in the dark here, but there just isn't very many redeeming qualities of this map other than the aesthetics that it brings. For that reason, we absolutely have to put this map down in the D tier as well. And I'm going to be honest with how very unfunctional this map could be on harder difficulties of gameplay. If there was a lower tier, I would put it there. For the next segment of this video, we're going to be talking about 2 maps that are no longer inside of Phasmophobia. First up, let's grab the key over here. You can see here we have the old van setup, back of the OG 2020 van setup from Phasmophobia. And we're going to be looking at OG Bleasdale Farmhouse. Walking into Bleasdale Farmhouse, you have the entry lobby, or the foyer. You have a side office room there, and the office typically did have a little hiding spot right here. It's not available right now in this difficulty, but it used to be right there for one potential hiding spot. The living room is pretty open, and the living room was able to be looped around that couch there if you were trying to loop the ghost inside of this room. You have the dining room table you could try to crouch loop around, and you had the countertop here, which can be crouch looped around as well. So these were both pretty decent looping spots. One in the living room, one inside the kitchen, and one inside of the dining room. Over in the back area here with the workbench, we had the opportunity to have some lockers back here. The lockers were usually available, but not always. you had a good, nice, secure hiding spot on the first floor of lockers. Not closets or anything like that, and there is no closets on the entirety of the map, but we did have lockers downstairs. All in all, the downstairs formation and the layout of this map really didn't feel too bad. None of the rooms were really that big, and trying to get evidence down here was pretty straightforward. Working our way upstairs here, we have the very, very long and obnoxious hallway, and I always did not like getting a ghost room to be this hallway because it was difficult to try to get anything. It was an L-shaped as well, so if you set up a camera there, you wouldn't be able to see the other part of this ghost room, which is around this bend, a relatively bigger area over here too. So trying to get dots or orbs was always a bit of a pain. And then if you go up in the attic, the worst ghost room of all, this attic was always a miserable time to try to get evidences as well. And there was never really a lot of hiding spot or potential back here other than hiding behind that blue tool cart and the back of this sofa as well. You were able to crouch down and hide behind this sofa. But one of the best looping spots in the entirety of the map that people really didn't take advantage of too much was that if you ran the ghost upstairs and you try to run it around the opening here, going downstairs, the ghost was obviously not able to get around here. So it would have to run around to try to get you. And as the ghost was running around trying to get you, you can go back down the stairs and then lose line of sight on the ghost or lose the ghost altogether during the hunt. It was a very good tactic and maneuver to try to survive during a hunt. But overall, the biggest reason this map received a rework, more so than anything else, is that it didn't have a lot of interactable items. There wasn't a lot to touch or move around here, and it wasn't very engaging for gameplay. I definitely think there's no doubt that Bleasdale, the old version, is much worse off than the new version is, at least in my personal opinion. For that reason, I would put old Bleasdale down in the C category. Definitely not the worst map ever. People still played it, but I think people didn't like playing it as much as they liked Grafton because they had the attic area and there were some areas that were just a little bit more difficult to try to survive or get evidences like the upstairs hallway. So I don't think it belonged in the Grafton tier of B. I think it belongs below that. Last but not least on this map tier list, we have a map that has been gone from the game for nearly 3 years. I have not stepped in this map in nearly 3 years. It is the old, the notorious, the semi-famous at this point, old Asylum. Let's get into it. Now, this was the ultimate map for closeness to the front door, and it was right there. So for that reason, it was actually a really good map, but that's where it stopped. Everything else about this map is literally awful. And I am the first one to always remind people that there is a very good reason that this map left and never came back in any capacity. Look at the layout of this map. The layout of this map is so confusing, such a maze, that it really is hard to try to get around. If you think Sunny Meadows is hard to navigate, this map was 10 times worse. Let's get into it. Opening up the front door here, we're immediately met with the old reception desk that I use for my chatting screen on my streams. Turn on the light in here. The old reception area. Now, you had two options. You can go down the left wing. You can go down the right wing. For the sake of it, let's go down the right side here. But you can also go through these center doors to get you more to a center area as well. This map is incredibly dark. Probably the darkest map ever to have come out in Phasmophobia. And to this day, I'm actually trying to remember where to go because it's been so long since I've been on this map that I don't know if I remember. We're going to try. There's a downstairs portion of this map as well. I believe you have to go this way. It would always be next to these doors here, the outermost doors to the center. So if you go straight ahead and don't go downstairs, we can see some of what this map has to offer. This is like an activity and a TV room. And you can see how little is actually inside this room. There's very little tables. There's not really much for the ghost to interact with at all. It can't move that floor sign. It can't move the bucket. It's got one cup on the table, one notepad, and that's it because that's all they really had in the game at the back time then. And it has a throwable book as well. So this is an activity room. We have a bunch of random closets and a bunch of random storage facilities on this map as well. This should try to take up space. And then some of these rooms were little single bedrooms with bunk beds on them. And the fun and unfortunate part about these rooms is you can see the ceiling, those lights are broken. So the light switch in this room is not interactable. But I can assure you that the power is still on. So look over here. If we go to this room over here, which I think is the little kitchen area for staff, this light's on. So some of the lights in some of the rooms just didn't work altogether. And there's a lot of graffiti on the walls, letting you know it's been abandoned for a long time. That was a little bit of a factor as well. And then you had bigger rooms of bedrooms as well. They had numerous beds in them with like little chests for people to keep their belongings with boarded up windows. So all in all, that's pretty much the entire map when it comes to the upstairs section. There is a kitchen somewhere as well. I think it might be downstairs. Let's go take a little look downstairs. So we're gonna go back over here and go to the staircase and go down. We've hit the bottom of the staircase. We're downstairs. You have these elevators here letting you know that you're close to the staircase, but they actually are not operational at all. You have some more stored linen areas here. This might be it here. Let's see. Try to like dig into like the deep parts of my memory about this map. I don't even remember where the light switch is. Oh, there it is. Light switch is on. So this is a classroom. Okay, this is the classroom. So you have a classroom here with some old wooden chairs. Oh, it's a sewing room. This was the sewing room. None of this is interactable, by the way. None of this can be interacted with. So there's nothing here for the ghost to be able to touch or move besides the doors and the light switch. That is it. Nothing else here is movable besides this notepad. And then if you were looking for hiding spots, your best bet was to try to find the rooms that had these little female or male signs, and then go inside of these rooms and try to hide in one of the stalls. Go in the stall and hide inside of here. This would be your best bet. There's bathroom station all around this map that have this exact layout that will allow you to hide in them, and it would be your best scenario. Just like high school has now, these are some of the better hiding spots the map had available. Here we go. This is the eating area. So we have an eating area in here with a bunch of tables and some plates and such. This was one of the rooms that had a little bit more interactable items in it than most did. And if you go here, you had some kitchen areas there. You got some kitchen counters. You got some sinks there. The ghost was able to interact with the sink. And you have a little facility back here for some paperwork and some receptionists. I remember there was one room here that had a locker in it. I'm trying to remember where it was. It might have been down this hallway here in the basement. I think it was this room right here to the right. I think this was the big power room. This is one of the areas the power was able to spawn. You go in here. There's your breaker. Now, this isn't an interactable breaker. It's just for funsies, but sometimes the breaker would spawn down here over in that area. And you can see here we do have a locker available. One of the only lockers available on the entirety of this larger map, and it is a very, very big map. So we can do a little side room over here real quick. I just want to point out this to you. The light doesn't work in this room either. And you can see here that we have some trash cans. The trash cans are not pulled away from the wall like you see in a lot of newer maps now. The Phasmophobia dev team back then just was not really concerned with potential hiding spots like that. So a lot of these rooms don't have hiding taken into consideration at all. They just kind of are what they are. And that's one of the biggest reasons that this map went away and was redone to be something that just made more sense with game mechanics. And look here, in this little area, we have a shovel. And unfortunately, back then, the shovel was non-interactable and you couldn't pick it up. It was a very, very dark time in Phasmophobia history. And who could forget the old OG Phasmophobia lobby? This was the lobby before you saw the new lobby. This was it. You had the whiteboard there. You had some cool decor, a lot of random stuff all over the place, and the whole lore was supposed to be that after years of ghost hunting and Phasmophobia being out, we had so much money as players that we were able to afford a better facility. So that's your old van right there. And we have a couple lockers here for funsies. The area that you had taken your last photos. This is where it all happened. There's a lot of memory, a lot of nostalgia here. And that is old Phasmophobia. I think it goes without saying that if I had to put a rank or a tier on the old Asylum, I would put it down in the D tier for sure. It was a great map for nostalgia's sake, but to be honest, there was a reason it got redone, and I'm very happy that it did because it gave us the possibility of Sunny Meadows. And that brings us to a close on our Phasmophobia map tier ranking list. As you can see here, we have an S tier, Tangle, Willow, and Sunny Meadows full. In A, we have Ridgeview, Sunny restricted, in Bleasdale. B tier, we have Edgefield and Grafton. C, we have Camp Woodwind and Prison. And D tier, we have Maple Lodge, High School, and Point Hope. I would love to hear your feedback in the comments section and to see how you feel about these maps and where you would have placed them as well. Always open to your feedback and to maybe change my mind on some of my opinions on them. Thank you again for watching. I know this is a longer video, so thank you so much for your time. Until I see you all next time, stay crispy.